Hey everybody, I'm the Ranting Monkey, and today we're going to look at something really stupid. Today's video is brought to us by a site I'd never heard of. Following links from Everyday Feminism brought me to Role Reboot. And to be honest, it's not the worst site I've ever seen. Oh sure, it's full of intersectional regressive nonsense, but there are a few articles that aren't complete trash. We're not going to be looking at those. Instead, we're jumping right into the dumpster fire. What women mean when they say they don't need feminism.
I don't need feminism, a woman haughtily types at her desk before swallowing her birth control pill with a swig of water, locking up the house she owns, and using her credit card to make purchases at the mall.
I just love the line, taking her birth control pill with a swig of water. Apparently without feminism, women couldn't have water? They'd have to take their birth control pill with milk, which we all know is racist. Yay, intersectional feminism. I'm gonna need my fucking ducks.
The great irony of women who don't need feminism, of course, is that so many of the things we all take for granted, see above, were fought for by the feminists of yesteryear. Women absolutely have the freedom to call ourselves whatever we want, but whenever I run into a self-proclaimed woman against feminism, I invariably find out that her position has been shaped by a misunderstanding of what feminist movement actually stands for. A failure to recognize that social progress lies on a continuum and a personal fear of being seen as too something. I don't believe that women are better than men. I believe in equality. You believe in equality? That's exactly what feminism fights for. My own definition of a feminist is a man or woman who says, yes, there is a problem with gender today and we must fix it. We must do better. Says, I can't pronounce that. All of us, women and men, must do better.
Okay, let's go with that definition for a moment. A man or woman who sees there's a problem with gender today and thinks we should fix it. By that definition, men's rights activists are feminists. That's kind of a hard sell, though, because they're fighting for men to be treated at least equally to women, and no modern third-wave feminist wants that. They're far more concerned with bullshit like the mythical wage gap than insisting men and women get the same sentence for committing the same crimes. Men getting harsher punishments for crime is an actual example of institutionalized sexism, but you're not going to hear feminists talking about it, because third-wave feminism doesn't give a shit about equality. It's absolutely about elevating women above men.
Feminism is not a movement that believes women are inherently better than men. Previous strains of women's activism actually were rooted in biologically based arguments for each sex's strengths. The Daughters of the American Revolution, for instance, commissioned 12 statues commemorating pioneering women, called the Madonna of the Trail series, in the 1920s. These statues revered motherhood, piousness, and morality. In other words, qualities that Dar felt were the innate strengths of women on the trail. Over time, women's movements shifted from highlighting skills within prescribed gender roles to realizing that we could do anything that men had already been doing for centuries. The fight for agency over our own bodies, access to sex-specific healthcare, and professional treatment at work is motivated by the belief that we should have the same opportunities men have always had. Feminist movements also fight for the inverse, men having access to more emotive, nurturing, and artistic pursuits that toxic masculinity bars them from.
And there it is. Women aren't superior to men. They're fighting for men to be able to act like women. We men don't share our emotions and spend our days crying over shit we can't change. So obviously, some woman needs to come save us from being men. Feminists just can't seem to grasp the concept that men, generally speaking, aren't as emotional as they are. It's actually very narcissistic. It's impossible for them to imagine anyone being different than they are. To be a good person, you have to do as they do, or something is wrong with you. If you don't turn into a blubbering mess when they would, you're broken. But don't worry, it's not your fault. Some horrible man forced you to be that way. Toxic masculinity is barring you from being anything else. The message? Women aren't better. They're just better. This is fucking stupid.
Feminism isn't what it used to be. The women that got us these rights would be shocked by what the movement has become, a female friend said to me the other day while discussing today's wave of feminism. Yes, it's difficult to imagine Ernestine Rose and Lucy Stone adorned with pink pussy hats and mailing menstruation-inspired art to the president and vice president. Then again, I would like to think these suffragist leaders would be just as outraged as the rest of us if they had to live under such a blatantly anti-woman administration, led by a man who spurns women's anatomy as free for the grabbing, as blood coming out of her whatever.
They were fighting for the right to vote. You're fighting because you don't like the outcome of that election. Let me help you out here. Women are not only the majority in this country, they tend to be the majority of voters. If you don't like who wins a given election, you really should be blaming women. Well, if you're a mature adult, you just accept that other people have differing opinions and accept that your ideology lost. But if you want to blame someone, blame bitches. But let's talk for a moment about what Trump said. Jokingly, he said women let him grab them by the pussy. Let him. Not they try to stop me, but I grabbed that pussy anyway. Let him. Stop pretending he was running around serial assaulting women. He's not Bill Clinton. And bleeding from wherever? Are we really going to pretend women don't get bitchy because of their monthly visitor? Was Megyn Kelly on her period when she was being a cunt to him during that debate? I don't know. Trump made a bad joke on it based on fairly common human behavior. I do find it funny that women can tell men we need to be more emotive like they are, but they will never admit that an outburst of bitchiness might be due to their time of the month. We have to be honest about our feelings. They get to hide behind fake outrage over the suggestion biology might be making them bitchy.
Glorifying past movements while condemning current ones is deeply problematic, and demands nothing of you. It's easier to look back on movements that occurred before you were born with rose-colored glasses because you couldn't have participated in them anyway. It's easy to talk a good game about what you would have done to help the persecuted had you lived in Nazi Germany, rather than act against the resurgence of white supremacy in the United States today.
What in the actual fuck are you talking about? First of all, it's really easy to stand up to white supremacists in America today. They're not doing much except talking. Talk back. Point out that they're fucking morons. It's a lot easier than what someone in Germany who was against the Third Reich would have faced. They would have been jailed or executed. For the love of all that is good and holy, can we please stop comparing everything to Hitler? You're supposed to be talking about what it means when feminists say they don't need feminism, for fuck's sake. What in the fuck does that have to do with war and mass murder, you moron?
By using 19th century suffragists to criticize today's feminism, or the more palatable aspects of Martin Luther King Jr. to ridicule Black Lives Matter, you not only selfishly let yourself off the hook from social justice causes, you deny that there's still work to be done. Movements don't end once women have the vote or schools are desegregated. They necessarily evolve to address whatever needs and concerns arise in the future.
No, they don't. Once a movement has achieved its goals, there's no reason for them to exist. That's the problem with the modern feminist movement. There's really no point to it, so you have to sit around looking for reasons to justify its existence. It's why we hear about moronic shit like manspreading or mansplaining, air conditioning in the office, catcalling, and even some poor actress saying that a woman needs to constantly be on the defense because some guy asked her for her fucking phone number. These aren't problems that need addressed. It's whiny bullshit blown way out of proportion so feminists can feel oppressed. If the worst thing that happens to you during your day is that some dude yells to tell you how nice he thinks your tits are, you really have nothing to bitch about. Unless it's that time of the month, of course.
I don't want to be seen as a victim, or a feminazi. Not too long ago, I spoke publicly about the exploitation of adjunct professors in higher education. I explained that as it currently stands, the system generally does not allow adjuncts to substantially advance their careers or salary levels, no matter how many hours or jobs they work. That's a shame, one commenter said, but you don't want to be a victim, do you? No one wants to be a victim, especially not in America, where the bootstraps fallacy is practically a religion. But as nice as the thought may be that anything is possible with enough individual effort and perseverance, it's just unrealistic. Just as workers will continue to be exploited if the system as a whole doesn't change, women will continue to be harassed, demeaned, and stalked on the streets, unless we work to change the culture. And even if street harassment doesn't bother you personally, your claiming to not be a victim doesn't negate the rights of women everywhere to feel safe.
Believe it or not, I hadn't read this part when I made my last comment. It's just that feminists are this goddamn predictable. Could one of you ladies please explain to me where the fear comes from when a man yells that you have nice tits? I'm not supporting that behavior, but where's the danger there? Are you guys just really afraid of compliments? Do you think every man who thinks you have a nice ass is going to rape you? And do you really think we men are any safer on the street than you are? That other men just give us some dick pass? Here's the thing. The people you should be afraid of won't give a fuck what you do to the culture. People who commit assault don't give a fuck about the law or social norms. No one thinks muggers, rapists, and murderers are cool. It's why we have laws against those behaviors. They are criminals, not heroes held up to any standard to live by. There's no need to change the culture. If you want to feel safe, you need to learn to defend yourself. Stop pretending that we can just teach criminals not to commit crimes. That's fucking moronic. I did like how she threw in the part there about not being able to get ahead with hard work and perseverance. Who would have thought? A third-wave feminist doesn't think working hard will get you anywhere.
On the other side of the spectrum, to affix the word Nazi to the end of something is to write a cautionary tale. Don't be too loud, too willful. Don't be too off-putting to the people who would rather not hear that you left your career in STEM because of harassment you received as the only woman of color was too much, or that you've been accosted by the same man outside your preferred supermarket so much that you had to shop elsewhere. Adjust. Move on.
Look, I'm not a big fan of the word feminazi, but it was coined as a joke about the radical behavior of feminists. But why are you fucking bitching about this? You were just comparing the struggle of feminists to facing Nazis, and now you're worried about connotation? You can't really be this self-unaware. Who was being chased out of STEM fields for being a woman of color or a woman in general? Where is this happening? You didn't even link some bullshit article with a tear-jerking empirical story. You just stated as fact. As for the guy at the supermarket, report him to the owner. They will chase him away if he's costing them business. But that guy isn't a reason for feminism to exist. No one supports his creepy behavior. He's not on a government grant to harass women on their way to pick up feminine hygiene products. He's just some asshole. You don't need a movement to stand against him.
Nazis espouse a far-right ideology of believed racial superiority. The National Alliance, an American neo-Nazi organization active since the 1970s, calls for the eradication of Jews and other races and the creation of an all-white homeland. When I think of actual feminists who mimic this kind of violent extremism, I picture Mary Daly and Valerie Solanas, who advocated for the eradication of men and were widely condemned by their feminist philosopher peers.
Okay, but those feminists still exist. It doesn't matter that their peers were condemning them. Who the fuck's out there supporting neo-Nazis except other neo-Nazis? They are widely fucking condemned. And why the fuck are we talking about Nazis again? At any point in this article, are you actually going to talk about why women need feminism? Or why it's bad for women to say they don't need feminism? I mean, that was the actual fucking title. Are we going to get to that point? Oh, no, we're not.
For contrast's sake, here's a short list of the things I desire as outcomes of feminist work. Things that make me neither a victim nor a feminazi. Equal pay for equal work. A partner who supports my career and other pursuits without trivializing them or dismissing them. To walk down the street, into bars, or appear in other public places without being harassed. To write online without being threatened, stalked, or doxxed. To not be judged for my body, my clothes and makeup, my sex life, or the number of children I do or do not have. What would your list look like?
Well, after reading this shit, I think first on my list would be feminists being able to stick to the fucking point. This was supposed to be an article about what it means when a woman says she doesn't need feminism. And instead we got street harassment and Nazis. Sounds like the plot to the worst Indiana Jones movie ever. Let's take these point by point. Equal pay for equal work. Yeah, that's the law. The problem here isn't that there's not equal pay for equal work. It's that women don't want to do the equal work for the equal pay. If you want to be paid like men, work like men. A partner who supports my career and other pursuits. Find somebody who actually gives a shit about you. You don't need a change in culture for that. You might just need to pick better men to hang out with. To walk down the streets, into bars, or appear in other public places without being harassed. Well, the bar on harassment's pretty fucking low these days. When the bar for harassment is, some guy asked for my phone number, you've really run out of shit to bitch about. That's not a violent act. All you gotta do is say no and walk away. But anytime I hear this shit, I always think about Camille Paglia and her talking about when she was in college. She's a feminist who went to college back at a time when women had a curfew. And what she says is they were fighting for the right to put themselves in danger. The curfew was there to protect them. But what they wanted was the right to make the decision whether or not they wanted to put themselves in danger. Whether or not they wanted to do what men do. Go out at night and face risks that you might not want to face. It's not that men are any safer than women. But modern feminism doesn't want that. What they want to do is sanitize the world. Which isn't possible. You can't make the entire world safe. You can't claim to be a strong, independent woman and demand that the entire world change so you can feel safe all the fucking time. Newsflash. The world isn't safe. To write online without being threatened, stalked, or doxxed. Okay, I'll give you that one. Not to be judged for my body, my clothes and makeup, my sex life, or the number of children I do or do not have. Okay, look, if you don't want to be judged on your body, stay inside. Humans by nature are judgmental, and they are going to judge you. As for your clothes and makeup, you should be judged on that. That is you presenting yourself to the world. If you dress like a fucking slob, people are going to think you're a fucking slob. Your sex life? I don't give a fuck. I really don't. If you want to be a whore, knock yourself out. You want to be a prude? No problem. The number of children you do or do not have? Well, you need to talk to other feminists about that. I hate to repeat myself, but the problem with modern feminism is that there's no fight to have anymore. You've won. It's time to shut the fuck up and enjoy the spoils of victory. Instead, you decide to whine about a whole bunch of meaningless shit and throw Nazis in. I'm guessing because you're on your period. Alright guys, that is going to wrap up this one. If you enjoy what I do here, please consider becoming a Patreon supporter for as little as $1 a month. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and share it with all of your friends. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and don't forget to click the bell as well so you get notifications of new videos. Thank you so much for watching. I'm the Ranting Monkey, and I'll see you next time.
I don't believe that women are better than men. I believe in equality. You believe in equality? That's exactly what feminism fights for. My own definition of a feminist is a man or woman who says, yes, there is a problem with gender today and we must fix it. We must do better. Says, I can't pronounce that. All of us, women and men, must do better.
In my sweet creamy salad. Now I'm discredited. I can't talk to him because I don't have a big enough penis, guys.